Arizona, Colorado, Indiana, Michigan, New Jersey, Tennessee, and Virginia. Listen up. WynnBET is now live in all these states, and the excitement of Wynn Las Vegas has finally landed in online sports betting and casino play. From boosted parlays to live in-game offs on every major sport, WynnBET gives you the tools to win. Sign up today for your risk-free $1,000 sports bet. Download the WynnBET app now or visit wynnbet.com to start winning.
You're listening to the Huddle Up Podcast with Chad Jensen and Zack Kelberman. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com and sound off. And now it's time to drop some knowledge.
Welcome in, everybody. It is the Huddle Up Podcast, presented, as always, by Mile High Huddle and powered by Blue Wire Pods. I'm your host, Chad Jensen. With me, my fellow football priest and the deputy editor of milehighhuddle.com, Zack Kelberman. Zack, Kenny Young, we kind of hinted around it last night, but he didn't seem too stoked to be traded to the Denver Broncos. Now, before fans get their dander up and all righteous indignation, how dare you, you're with the Denver Broncos, you got to remember, he had already been traded once before in his career. I'll let you get to the meat of what he said, Zack, but he had already been traded once in his career. He was on a winning ball club that he had kind of sunk some roots with, and he had come off a game which was arguably his best game of the season. So for him to say that, you know, what he did say, it's at least understandable.
Very much so. I mean, a young guy, not even in the prime of his career, starting for a team that's, 6-1 right now? I mean, a Super Bowl contending team. Then in the matter of a blink of a second, he's foisted upon a team that's 3-4 in total disarray, lost 4 straight games. And the justification, I think, behind the trade kind of ate at Kenny Young, as it should. If he says it's financially driven, well, I looked into that as I wrote the article today. The Rams only saved $1.3 million by trading him. Now they have over 5, so they weren't exactly pressed up to the salary cap completely. They had some wiggle room. So to get rid of a young starting playmaker, a 25-year-old guy playing well, coming off a win, all to save $1.3 million, I don't blame him for how he feels at all.
Here, just so people understand the tonality of how he said it, you're going to see headlines, including from us, that says he was not cool with what happened and whatnot. Here's the actual tonality of what your new Denver Broncos linebacker said today, or yesterday.
It had nothing to do with my on the field ability, anything like that. I think what it was, I was playing well. The way the cap was structured. They need to take some money off my deal to really get some guys off other areas up, ready to go. And that's what it was about. It was about finances, and something weird for me. I've never heard or experienced that, but it makes sense what they did. And, I'm not cool with it, but I have to respect it because they had no other choice.
Listen up, Broncos country. TickPick should be your first choice to buy football tickets because they save fans money by never charging any service fees ever. TickPick is the exclusive ticketing partner for the Huddle Up Podcast and the Blue Wire Network.
Denver Broncos football is finally back, and there's no need to exhaust yourself searching all over the internet to find Broncos tickets anymore, because TickPick, that's TickPick, is the original no-fee ticket site and the only one you'll ever need as your go-to for all NFL tickets. TickPick got rid of all those awful service fees that the other ticket sites charge, which lets them guarantee the best prices on all of their NFL tickets. Don't believe it? If you can find better prices for the same seats on another ticket site, TickPick will give you 110% of the difference in the purchase price.
That's right, guys. When we were searching for tickets for the MHH meet and greet for Week 3 at home, Broncos versus Jets, TickPick had us locked down. So visit tickpick.com/huddle today and use the promo code HUDDLE to save $10 on your first order of Broncos tickets. Okay, so he's not cool with it. Understands NFL's a business. The wisdom of saying that at the podium, I don't know how smart it was. It's not the greatest way to ingratiate yourself, not only to your new teammates, but to the fans and local media. But guys, Kenny Young basically had the rug pulled out from underneath him. And so, cut him a little bit of slack.
I mean, it's like he's going through a breakup, and he wasn't the one who initiated that. And for anyone who's ever in that position, there's the after effects. There's the whirlwind experience. You feel blindsided. You go through the stages of grief. And as I wrote, I think Kenny Young is far from the acceptance stage of that process, Chad. He's still very much going through it, and realize, thinking to himself, why would they do that? Why would Sean McVay do that? Why would Les Snead do that? I'm a young, talented playmaker for a really good team. Why get rid of me only to save that much money? And for a 2024 sixth-round draft pick at that, I mean, he literally went for nothing. So on a personal level, I understand how he feels. On a professional level, I understand how he feels. I just hope he channels that anger into motivation, and he kind of gets on the orange and blue bandwagon going forward.
I think once he kind of settles in and the sting wears off just a little bit, I think he's going to end up being a pretty good find for these Denver Broncos. Like, I think he's worth more than what the Broncos had to give up to land him. Zach, if you wouldn't mind beginning to grab Sam's super chat here, I'm going to mute my mic just for a second. I got to grab something right behind this banner. I'll be back in 10 seconds.
Yeah, Sam Bam hopping in as he always does with a very generous super, $20 super. Thank you, Sam Bam. Good to see you this evening. He goes, "Sup, Broncos country, let's get back in the win column this Sunday. But since Fangio is still our head coach and Pat Shurmur is still our OC, can't say I feel that confident. Go Broncos." I don't blame anyone for having lack of confidence in the Broncos, but this is another team in Washington that the Broncos should be able to, with their talent alone, take away the coaching, vanquish. They are beat up on offense. They are not that great on defense. I mean, if they can't make hay at 3-4 now, the season on the line, Teddy Bridgewater's hand hovering over the panic button while Von Miller simultaneously smashes it, as he came out today and said, I mean, they're done for. So I think you might see a win, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw a loss at all.
Sam Bam, you the man. Really appreciate you. Keep your chin up. Whatever happens, guys, with this 2021 Denver Broncos football season, we're going to get through it together, and we're going to enjoy the ride. You know, this too shall pass, and pretty soon, even if this season ultimately, as it appears to be, is destined for another dustbin of history type finish, hey, man, we're going to be getting to the draft by December. We're going to be talking top 10 picks. We're going to be all over that. All right. But for now, hey, let's not be Teddy Bridgewater and panic quite yet, even though we might be seeing the writing on the wall. Appreciate you, Sam.
Yeah, Sam also hopped back in with the talent. Can we pull that back up again so we can read that?
That was
Sam?
my bad. I'm the one that clicked it off. I don't know if we got access to it. So let me see. I think he floated off, dude. Yeah, I can pull it from the back end.
If we can try to get it back, just so I can acknowledge Sam's comment. But I see Michaela here hopping in, as she always does every single pod, Chad. The most generous Duchess in all the podcasting land. Thank you so much, Michaela. She says, not much to say except I love each one of you. Nice to see you're in a good mood tonight. Usually, Chad, she's kind of, very out for blood, very Game of Thrones-like. So we appreciate you, Michaela, and I hope your chin is up and you're looking forward to Sunday's game.
She would make for a phenomenal character on Game of Thrones. And you know what? As much as the wrath can come out when the Broncos aren't minding their P's and Q's, we also know Michaela is a sweetie pie, and we love her, and she was so much fun to hang out with. And we love you too. And that's not just, that's not just saying that. We got much love for you. So appreciate you. And we'll do an update here in a minute on where things stand on the top 5 on Super Chat. Shane Daniels, another legend. What's up, buddy? He says, you can't be mad. He was on a Super Bowl caliber team and then sent to the fledgling Broncos. I like that. I would be mad.
So would I.
All right. I pulled up the comment. We'll grab at Sam Bam as soon as we finish up with Josh Hoyle, who has been a whirling dervish on Facebook for us, really pushing the pile, right, for our goal toward 250,000 stars, which that's another thing we'll update here just in a moment. He says, hopefully after a couple weeks, Young is in better spirits, gets comfortable with the Broncos. Can't say I blame him for being upset. Yeah, and I think, there's actually a lot to be curious about and intrigued by with Kenny Young. He really is an interesting talent to me. And I think that because he has a little bit of a background, at least in the kind of foundation of the scheme that Fangio runs, different verbiage is really all that he has to kind of assimilate. I don't think I don't think Kenny Young's going to need, a quarter of the season to get up to speed. It'll take a little bit of buffering time. He will have to acclimate a little bit, but this is a guy that has upside beyond 2021. This is a guy that has the potential to be a factor and help you at that position in years to come if things come together. And here's Sam Bam, what he had to say on his second Super. He said, "Let's get back in the win column this Sunday, but since Vic Fangio is still our head coach and Pat Shurmur is still our OC, I can't say I feel that confident."
That was the same one, but
it was?
Yeah, it's okay though.
No,
it's
I see what it was. We flashed them both. Here it is. I'm just gonna say it. Okay, ready? Also, gonna ask the Broncos country send my Braves some good vibes as we got to win 3 more against the Astros. I've been a Braves and a Broncos fan since the early 90s, so go Braves and go Broncos. I don't know, man. I don't really care about baseball, but I'll give you those vibes, my dog.
I appreciate you, Sam. About Kenny Young, though, Chad, he doesn't really have time to sit around and stew about the Rams' departure. He's going to probably end up playing starter snaps this week or next week at the absolute minimum. And if he wants to earn some money this year, he should kind of get over his Rams breakup and get on the Broncos bandwagon. He's in a contract year. He'll be a UFA in 2022. So if he stars in this defense going forward at a position that's been plagued by injury, if he stands out, he can play himself into a multi-year contract with Denver or another team. So I think what's best for him physically and mentally, like Simmons was saying, we have to make that transition. And if he wants to make that leap with Denver, it would behoove him financially at the minimum to do so.
Yes, indeed. And by the way, before I forget, all right, I shouldn't say I completely don't care about baseball, Sam Bam, all right? In fact, when I was a young warthog, my favorite team were the Angels, all right? Then, because back then, at least for my family's socioeconomic standing, all we had was cable and TBS. We had TBS, and the Braves were broadcast every night. So I ended up becoming a Braves fan. This is the Glavine, Smoltz, Justice, Ron Gant era of Atlanta Braves baseball. So I do still have a little bit of a spark for the Braves. I just don't follow them anymore, for what it's worth. Randy, what is going on? Now, you want to talk Braves? Talk to Scott Kennedy on Broncos for Breakfast. Randy, you demand. Hope you're doing well up there in the Great White North. Appreciate you. Speaking of superstars, we got Travis Weber in the house saying, "Good evening, Chad, Zach, Broncos country. Returning the love back to Mike and Andrew for the Stars the other day. I hope Young will get on board and want to play. We need him, but I understand where he is coming from." Very sweet gesture, what he's talking about, Mike and Andrew, in a very altruistic move. Travis was in a position to throw up some stars, and they did it for him. And it's just, man, our community is just, I love y'all.
Yeah, and the thing about Young, getting back on him for a second, what I like, Chad, he's a fiery guy. And he can give the Broncos something they really don't have on their entire team, from the head coach to the quarterback on down, and that's that fiery pistol type of personality to kind of get the defense going, get the team going, rile up the opponent. They don't have any of those types. They need more energy on the sidelines. So if Kenny Young can bring that along with covering a tight end and playing inside linebacker, I think he'll be a great acquisition.
Yes, indeed. Guys, today we're going to take a little time to kind of analyze who this Washington football team is, look at some head-to-head comparisons. We're looking at here 2 of the NFL's old drum teams right now. So none of what you're going to see here in a little bit is going to blow your socks off, but we're going to get to that because, the Broncos have been in the midst of a mini bye with 10 days in between games by the time they finally take the field again on Sunday. And so the focus, Zach, has kind of gone toward all the storylines. But there's football left to be played and a lot of football games left to be played. So 10 games for what it's worth. Calvin, what's going on, bro? You the man. Been with us a long time. Bonafide Super Chat superstar here at MHH. He says, y'all cracking me up thinking that Locke is any answer. Dude only reads one receiver and then bolts to the right into sacks. And when he gets sneezed on, he fumbles. Zach?
Well, I mean, I feel like the Broncos have been on a bye since the Jets game, Chad. They've been checked out since that point. In terms of who brought up Drew Lock, I mean, what are we even talking about here? So, Calvin, your defense of Teddy Bridgewater is so strong that you're willing to bring up the antithesis in your mind in Drew Lock unprompted to get the deflection off of Teddy. I mean, you say this in the midst of a period where Teddy's thrown 5 picks in his last 3 games. He's also fumbled in there as well. So if you're saying Drew Lock is not the answer, my counter will always be Teddy Bridgewater's not the answer. I don't think the Broncos have their long-term quarterback on the current roster, Calvin. I think we can both agree on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying, look, I still remain very, very open to the possibility that Drew Lock could be the answer. All right, but at this stage, again, it's more about what do you have to lose, and it's not like you have some it's not Jeff Driscoll back there, right? It's a young guy with talent and upside who you have poured a lot of coaching into. So what are you waiting for? It's also a guy that knows the scheme. It's also a guy that knows the players and around him. This is not, I mean, you move to Drew Lock, it is as seamless a transition as you can possibly get. So what are you waiting for? Teddy's tapped out and he's not healthy. Now the 10 days in between, Zach, I imagine that's going to be helpful in terms of getting him from that, 75 to 70%, whatever he said he was, health percentage to closer to 100%, but it still doesn't solve the problem, which is, he just doesn't have it, man. He just doesn't have it. There's so much about Teddy to love and like, especially on the intangible side, but the dude just doesn't have what it takes.
Well, let's ask Fangio how healthy Teddy was, because apparently he knows Teddy's body better than Teddy himself. It's 10 days now. He should be healed up. I mean, from the concussion, from the quad and the foot injuries. But I think even at full strength, even during the Broncos winning streak, Chad, even in the Jets game, which was their most complete game of the season, there were always cracks in the veneer. There were always red flags with Teddy's game, because that's always what he's been, and he's proving himself to be.
Jesse, what's going on, bro? Good to see you. Appreciate you being with us. He says, it's cold out here in New England in this storm, and I'm missing the Midwest. Tell Kenny I'd take Denver any day. We can make something of this year. It's true. There is still plenty of rows left to hoe for this team. Like, you have 10 more games. I mean, even at 3 and 4, you're now just 1 game. You're almost halfway into the season, and this Denver Broncos team is only 1 game under 500. So, if they, as Vic Fangio is hoping, can spark a turnaround, it has to start this week against the Washington football team, because, frankly, Zach, the schedule does not get all that much easier from here on out.
No. Can you imagine a couple weeks they're going to take on the Cowboys offense at the very minimum? They're going to play some contending teams, including the Chiefs, including the Chargers, including the Raiders again down the line. Their schedule, that was why it was so important to stack the wins, and why they needed to beat teams, Chad, like Cleveland that was shorthanded, like the Raiders without a head coach, like Pittsburgh with their current issues at quarterback, especially with Roethlisberger. So they're not going to get any easier from here on out. Things are going to get harder. And if you can't take down a Washington team, half of their offense is injured right now. The running back Gibson, a couple of the receivers, Logan Thomas is on IR right now. If you let Taylor Heineke, Case Keenum just don't even show up the next day, honestly.
All right. Let me go ahead and get this banner off. Yes, Jeremy, a.k.a. Black Knight. He says, I send a $5 donation on Twitch, so if you see a PayPal donation, it's mine. Yes, indeed, guys. We've received a few comments from our great community on Twitch that, hey, you guys need to set up a donate tab or whatever, so that just like on Facebook and YouTube, your Twitch audience can support what you guys are doing. And so Jeremy was actually kind enough to help us do that, went through the process today, got it set up. And so if you're on Twitch checking this out, go to our channel, click on the About. You'll see this little, albeit tacky thumbnail that will be changed soon. All right, but it's a little deal. You click on that, bada bing, bada bang. Another way to support what we're doing here. So Jeremy, love you, dude. Appreciate you. Send me your address. I want to send you out a little something as a thank you. Okay, send me your shipping address and your t-shirt size. All right. I'm just perusing the chat here. Mark Langley, the man, the myth, the legend. What did you call him the other night, Zach? The God King?
Yeah.
God King Mark? Love it, dude. Thank you so much, bro. Thank you so much. Love you. Appreciate you. What's up to you? Hope things are good in your neck of the woods, my friend.
Thanks, Mark. As always.
We'll be talking soon. You know this. Travis Weber, legendary superstar, says, I still think we need to start fresh. Hopefully a owner in place, a new coaching staff, hopefully a young offensive-minded coach, and build this team. Also, a big-time Braves fan, as long as I've been a Broncos fan. I was lucky to coach my brother in baseball, and we got to be the Braves, so a sentimental thing for me. Go Broncos, go Braves. Hey, that's cool, man. That's cool. Congrats on that. It's not easy coaching kids, man. It's let me put it this way. It's a lot more difficult than you would think. But any dad or bro or big bro or whatever that's done that, mom that's coached their kids, you know this. So anyway, we feel you, Travis. Now, starting fresh, Zach, if the season continues to tank, at what point do you say, you know what, we're not going to continue to strive to put all of our best troops out there. We're going to tank for position in the draft. Could you see this team as led by George Paton doing such a thing, knowing there isn't really that Andrew Luck, there isn't Trevor Lawrence in the class?
I mean, I don't really think that's a thing so much, even when there is a generational quote-unquote prospect, but there not being one and it being kind of a lowly rated quarterback class. I don't see a team like the Broncos doing that. And they have so much outright talent, Chad, even with the terrible coaching, even with the injuries. I don't see them finishing in the range of a number 1, number 2 overall pick. They would have to kind of lose from here on out. I don't think that's going to happen.
All right. Mike says, and thank you, Mike, for all your support, my friend. If we lose on Sunday and Teddy seems like he can't execute the offense because of his lack of arm strength, Drew needs to take over. I mean, my question again, and it is rhetorical, but what do you have to lose? What do you have to lose? At that stage, you would have nothing but something to gain. Naj, what's going on, big dog? He says, hey, bros, this young addition has given me hope. From what I've read, he's a high-energy guy and a solid leader. I think we need some fire to light these guys up. Coming from a winning locker room, maybe that'll help. Zach, that's a good point. This is a guy that comes new to the equation from a team that, you know, they still got the light in their eyes. They still got the fire in their eyes. Who knows? Maybe that will have some kind of effect on the locker room through osmosis.
I just, you know, I saw a tweet from Nick today that I agree with. He said, you know, the momentum of a season doesn't really transfer over from year to year. I agree with that. I also agree with there's no magic thing you can rub on that's going to transfer a winning culture over. Just because a team was 6-1 and you're 3-4, it doesn't really work that way. It's talent and it's coaching. If he would have brought Sean McVay with him, that would make a difference. But him by himself, because he came from a winning team, is not going to do anything.
Yes, indeed. David Wilder, good to see you, buddy. Thank you. Seriously, as long as you keep showing up for the streams, we're going to keep cranking out the content. Trust. All right? Same to you, Travis. Appreciate you. It says, Evening Priest, Broncos Country. This show is by far my favorite part of my work night. Very cool. Twitch, Jeremy says, are you guys worried about Peyton Manning having to, or Peyton, I guess is what he meant, George Peyton, having to answer to John and Joe Ellis? I believe that's what you're saying, right, Jeremy? Peyton George, the GM, answering to John and Joe Ellis. On what? Like, just generally speaking? Give us a little more context on that. But that chain of command, Zach, has been established now, you know, for the better part of a year.
I thought I read something that apparently Elway still has pull, and apparently he still sits atop the Broncos hierarchy. I mean, that could be speculation and rumor, but I don't think George Payton's answering to anyone right now. I really do think it's his ship, and he's guiding it as he sees.
Well, guys, we know, we'll talk about Pickett, but guys, John Elway didn't get fired, nor did he resign from the Denver Broncos. He remains the top executive on the football side. There's the business side, there's the administration side, then there's the football side. John Elway remains president of football operations. In fact, When he first took the job back in 2012, he wasn't even the GM. He was hired as vice president of football operations. The GM was carried over from the McDaniels era, Brian Zanders. And Brian Zanders understood, hey, I'm showing John Elway the ropes here. Hopefully I do enough to impress him and he keeps me around, but knowing that it's planned obsolescence. I'm teaching myself out of a job. And sure enough, I want to say it was right after the preparations for the 2013 draft. Elway came in 2011. So 2011, right after the preparations for the 2012 draft, Zanders was dismissed. John then press release, hey, guess what? John's the GM now, as well as VP. And then he got that new title, if you guys can remember, when he got his last extension, which, Zach, I think it was, I don't know, somewhere right around the VJ, beginning of the VJ, if I'm not mistaken, era. And so he's now president. So guess what? Joe Ellis, it was more, in my opinion, it was more of a PR move in terms of, John, you got to step down. We got to show to the fans after 5 years of this that there is accountability, that there is somebody, someone has to pay. And by relinquishing these duties and hiring someone you can trust, you don't have to do as much, but you're still the boss, so to speak. Zach, that's what it is. I don't think, though, John's being much of a meddler. But if he is, it's only going to last till the spring.
I think if he was meddling, you don't end up with Teddy Bridgewater. You end up with an Aaron Rodgers or Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson or Fields or Mac Jones, or you trade up for Trey Lance in the draft. I think that was a signal that it's George Payton's baby now, and to an extent Vic Fangio's baby, unfortunately.
Different strokes. Thank you for that super chat. Welcome. That's a newer name, so appreciate you. He says, Broncos fan in Cardiff, Wales. All right, nice. Across the pond. Hashtag state of being, baby. Love your show. My first point of call for all Broncos news, even at 1:30 a.m. in the UK. Very, very humbling. Appreciate that, man. Get some sleep in about 33 minutes. Turn in. You saw some logs. You're going to have a big day tomorrow. Calvin, thank you for that second super chat, brother. He says, we missed Malik Jackson type of D-line presence deeply. We have no pass rush to save our lives. We have no bark nor bite, and Shelby, MIA since the payday. What's funny about Shelby, Zach, is we were, for lack of a better term, we were hating on him a little bit in those previous two games. It was like, where is Shelby? Like Calvin's saying, like, come on, dude, you just got paid. Let's see something. The Cleveland game, he actually produced some impact moments. Wasn't enough to swing things, and it wasn't as consistent as you would prefer. But the point remains, Calvin, Malik Jackson, that kind of interior disruptor, we hoped that would be Draymond Jones. But, Zach, you're now 7 going into your 8th week of the season. Draymond is yet to get a sack.
I mean, you're going to tell me that's coincidence, though? The fact that Shelby Harris's play tapered off, Draymond Jones can't get going. I mean, everyone in the Broncos' defensive scheme, except maybe for Von Miller, was underproducing. And when it's every single player, not just one or two, again, it points to a coaching issue. But I agree with the premise of what Calvin's saying here. And like I said earlier, they don't have that mouthpiece. Even Derek Wolfe, not even for his play because he was so injured all the time, but he just had that intensity. Another team knew to game plan for him in that regard, that he's going to get under their skin. He's going to be that spark plug they need, that, I don't know, the a-hole up front. They don't have an a-hole up front right now. I mean, it would be in the back usually, but in this case, they don't have it. Shelby's a nice guy. Draymond's still young and finding himself. Mike Purcell is just kind of there. The coaching's not sparking it. They don't really have that guy. They need that guy.
Pete says, tanking helped the Jets. Not even the Jags are happy with their quarterback play. Don't tank. Find who wants to be Broncos on the team. Yeah. I feel you on that. I think by purposefully trying to tank, you invoke some very dangerous football karma, and you never know which way that can result. And even the Colts ultimately paid the price. The karmic wheel was a little bit slower in rolling around on them, but tanking for Andrew Luck, the suck for luck season of 2011, they did get luck, but he happened to be imagine if John Elway, Zach, in 1990 retired. I mean, you'd just be like, what? That's what Andrew Luck did. So That's what I'm saying. You tank, the football gods, the wheel of karma, it's going to come for you. I want to show you guys something real quick here, Zach, to the point that you made about the pass rush and how the defense is supposed to be the shining strength of this club. This is from Bob Morris. Title is Advanced Analytics Reveal Broncos' Purported Strength for 2021 is actually their biggest weakness. Now, Football Outsiders, there's a few different football analytics sites that are quite helpful to content creators like us, journalists, different forms of media, and also NFL teams. Everyone knows Pro Football Focus. Not as many people know or are familiar with Football Outsiders, but they have a metric that's called DVOA. And without bogging down the conversation, I'm not going to try and explain all that. Just know that DVOA is a metric that is used to reflect how efficient, effective a particular unit is in the NFL. The Broncos, Zach, get this, currently sit 26th in defensive DVOA at 9.1%. I understand that 9.1% thing that might not mean anything to you if you don't know what DVOA is, but that's why I would say just focus on this number, all right? 26. The Broncos' run defense is at minus 4.9%, which is not bad. But before you raise your eyebrow, two things to keep in mind. Broncos are ranked 26 overall in run defense, and second, 19 teams have a run defensive DVOA of at least that minus 10%. In other words, the Broncos have been decent, but not good enough against the run. Against the Browns, there was certainly a bad night for the run D, but the Broncos have fared better in other games. When it comes, this is the killer, Zach. This is the dagger, all right? When it comes to pass defense, there's no way to sugarcoat it. The Broncos are bad. They rank 24th overall with an 18.7% DVOA. While just 10 teams have negative pass defense DVOAs, that's to be expected in a passing league. However, you would expect that if the defense was truly the Broncos' strength, the passing defense, which that secondary, the highest paid in the league, would be negative DVOA, not a high positive number. So that just hammers home, Zach, that Vic Fangio and that experiment has really jumped the shark, and then we'll grab Joe here.
I mean, he's such a defensive mastermind. When you have Simmons and Callahan and Fuller and Pat Surtain and Ronald Darby, Kareem Jackson, even guys like Hayden Stearns, when you have that collection of talent, you have to be better than 24th overall. I mean, there's literally no excuse for it otherwise. There's no rationalization that you can say to yourself, well, this or that happened, that's preventing the ranking from being higher. In the lower 20s, the mid-20s, when you should have, and we said it on the podcast before the season, I kind of eat crow on that now. They should maybe have a top 5, top 3, maybe even top 1 defense in the NFL. But 24th with this secondary, everyone's saying no-fly zone 2.0 and Champ Bailey comparisons for Pat Surtain. Those might have been valid if they would get better coaching, and the coaching that would maximize the talent they have.
Yes, indeed. I'll say this, though. Pat Surtain has not been the problem. You know, he's had some ups and downs, but, I mean, Cleveland, dude, what was the number? He was targeted, I think, 8 times. Might have been a little bit less than that, but he relinquished 1 pass for 1 yard. I mean, and that was against, yes, I know, Case Keenum, but you had Jarvis Landry, you had Odell Beckham. I mean, the young kid, man, he immediately became this team's best corner. And that is a little bit of a surprise to happen so quickly because Bryce Callahan, veteran, Kyle Fuller, veteran, Ronald Darby, veteran. Then we'll grab Joe.
Do you know what a more messed up thing is? Not only do you have a defensive mastermind as your head coach, your defensive coordinator, his expertise is in secondary. And they rank 24th, and they're giving up big play after big play. I mean, they have the talent, guys, and I promise you, I mean, it's not subjective for me to say this. It's not my opinion or bias. If they had better coaching, I think they would have a minimum of 5 wins. Minimum.
Joe, thank you for being patient. He says, I don't know if he will have that much of an impact, especially when you got veterans that have been there longer on that team than he has been in the league. Are you talking about Kenny Young? Okay. All right, gotcha. I don't know if Kenny Young will have that much of an impact, especially when you got veterans that have been there longer on that team than he has even been in the league. I see what you mean, all right, but Kenny Young, by virtue of walking in the building, became this team's best healthy linebacker, period. So, and the veterans, look, in the NFL, it's not so much how old are you, it's can you play? What are your bona fides? I'm going to hop on PFF and see what your grade is. They do this, all right? All right, let me pull up Pro Football Reference, see your stats. Oh, dang, son. You had 10 tackles the game before you were traded? Hey, welcome in. You want to come over for dinner? Meet the wife, kids? Welcome to Denver. We need you. Sternad, Young. Let's just hope that duo can stay healthy. And then meanwhile, Zach, you've got Jonas Griffith, hopefully coming back to the roster within the next 2 or 3 weeks. They activated his IR window. And, you got at least some names, some bodies, something behind those two guys.
I mean, yeah, I'm not playing, the likes of Jonas Griffith or Micah Kaiser over Kenny Young. I mean, his talent just screams off the charts. It's what the Broncos have long lacked, and I feel like I've been saying that about every inside linebacker solution the last 5 years, but he really has that range where he can cover a tight end, and he's instantly a starter. The sooner he learns the playbook, the sooner he gets meaningful snaps, and that's why they made the move in the first place for him. And Baron Browning as well. I mean, that's a guy I want to see, so hopefully they can platoon. It doesn't have to be age or experience. It's talent level overall and what you bring to the table, as you said.
We had some real high hopes that Browning would be able to make an impact as a rookie, and it's still possible that he can. Unfortunately, he got that injury in rookie minicamp, and that completely threw him off. I mean, and then he gets the concussion covering a punt or kick or whatever it was game before last. So he will be back for this coming game. So it's another body out there. And you know what? You acquired Stephen Weatherly. Vaughn hopefully is able to play. You still got Malik Reed. You still got Jonathan Cooper. You're going to get Bradley Chubb back. So guess what? Don't play Baron Browning at edge. Play him off the ball because that's where you need, I think, the most help in terms of just numbers, just guys that can play football. And I get it. The Broncos pass rush, we'll go through the numbers here in a minute. In fact, we need to start transitioning to that here pretty soon. They need some help getting after the Q, but as long as Vaughn's on the field, you can feel at least a modicum of confidence, Zach, that the quarterback, isn't getting perfect sleep on Saturday night.
It's just unfortunate because he was he either was limited today or didn't practice, and it's 2 days in a row now, and he didn't really, or Fangio didn't sound like he has a great shot to play. And then obviously Malik Reed and Cooper are both kind of banged up as well. Bradley Chubb is still out for the next 3 or so weeks, 3-ish weeks that Fangio said. It's not a healthy linebacker core, but there's younger guys. That's why I don't associate age or experience with who should start. It's like you said, Chad, completely. If you have the talent, you get the starting nod.
Andrew Baker, and then we're going to do some side-by-sides here. He says, man, we need to put these old geezers out to pasture. I'm not putting into the QB debate anymore, but, man, they're dumb. Drew probably would have did the 3-0 and then throw in Teddy fresh to compete. Shake my head. Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, do the Broncos still get to 3-0 if it's Drew under center? Does Drew Lock beat Daniel Jones? That version of the Giants? I think he does. Does Drew Lock beat the Jags? I think he does. Does Drew Lock beat the Jets at home? I think he does. So you get to 3-0, and then maybe you still skid. I'm not saying, hey, if they would have gone with Drew, this team with these injuries and this coaching incompetency we've seen unfold, Drew would have him sitting here at 7-0. That's not what I'm saying. But if you would have gone with Drew, you would know what you have in him, first and foremost. Second of all, if this thing did skid, just like it has with Drew or whatever, you could have always gone to Teddy. And that change wouldn't have felt so painful, controversial, wouldn't have been as impactful. And now you could say as a franchise, Zach, with a straight face, hey, we gave it one last swing at the plate with Drew Lock, the guy we traded up to draft in the second round and who we, sacrificed and poured coaching into. And, we gave it the old college try one last time. It didn't work out. We had to turn to Teddy. And fans would understand and accept that. Unfortunately, the way they went about it, it's only fueled the doubts, the antipathy, the whole 9 yards surrounding Vic Fangio and his entire coaching staff. And then we'll grab Aaron Lee here.
Yeah, well, the answer to the question, would Drew Lock have gone 3-0, is another question. Did the Broncos go 3-0 because of Teddy Bridgewater? And that's what you have to ask yourself. I mean, he contributed to those wins, but I don't think he was the sole reason why they won those games. I think they played really terrible opponents. They had good defensive play. I mean, Teddy made some plays. The running game made some plays, but if Drew Lock would have managed the game like Teddy did, they would have gone 3-0, I think, with him as well.
Aaron Lee says Fangio is never going to put Lock in because his job depends on Bridgewater. He needs to wake up and see Bridgewater is not the answer. Let's see what Drew can do. I don't know that his job depends on Bridgewater. I'm not sure what you mean by that is what I actually meant to say, but I think it's simply a pride issue. And I think that, George Payton was hands off on that decision for the most part and went with what the coaches said. And the coaches opted to go for Teddy because he was a more proven commodity that presented a higher floor. And Vic Fangio was at the time, you guys heard us say it, and in the weeks following, a lot of people tried to jump in with the crow thing that, look at you guys freaking idiotic for saying they should have gone with Drew and all that, but it was self-serving, all right? It was transparently about saving coaching jobs, not about what was best for this team.
How about the comparisons to Peyton Manning that Teddy was getting? I mean, the hype was just off the charts.
From the coach.
God. And in terms of waking up, you can't wake up someone in a coma, and that's where Vic Fangio is right now. I mean, unless he flatlines, it's the only way the Broncos are going to get out of the Teddy Bridgewater experiment.
Easy now. He is in his 60s. Let's not tempt fate.
Figuratively.
Claydew, what's up, dude? Another newer name. Welcome. Thank you. Connect on Twitter. He says, I work in a grocery store, and under old owners, the store got dusty and stale. But we got new, younger management. My store got completely renewed. We need young blood ASAP. It works outside of football too. Absolutely, man. Leadership is leadership. That's a good segue, actually, Zach. If you want to grab a super chat, I'm going to bring up this email that Chris sent me yesterday.
I just want to know if Claydo's manager is interested in coaching football because the Broncos are going to have a vacancy pretty soon. It doesn't really always work just because you're young or just because you're old, inexperienced. But in most cases in the NFL, in most cases in life, when things get stale and played out, if you go with a fresher approach, a forward-thinking, progressive approach, I think you'll have a better chance to kind of change things up. And when you do that, good things shake loose, as far as I know.
Okay, there are some names on this email that Travis, thanks, bro. You're going off today, bro. Appreciate it. There are some names on this email I received from Chris Hernandez, who is in United States Air Force. So I'm not going to flash the screen, but I'm going to read you a couple things here as soon as we answer this question from Collection Connection. He says, do you think no fans last year hurt Locke and the Broncos? I don't think it was so much a no fans thing. I just think it was the pandemic in general was, and you can say, look, pandemic affected every team. It was a level playing field. It wasn't. The teams that had young new quarterbacks, young offensive lines, young as far as experienced head coaches, those were the teams that were more impacted by, obviously. I mean, was it any skin off Aaron Rodgers' teeth, the pandemic? No, because he's Aaron Rodgers and he knows the players and the playbook and the league and his opponents like the back of his hand. For a young in utero, still up and coming quarterback like Drew Lock and a coaching staff still trying to figure out how to win and a new offensive coordinator and QB's coach, it was the worst possible scenario.
I think it actually helped Drew Lock. There were no fans there to boo him off the field when he threw a pick, as he's come to experience. I think coaching was a bigger detriment to Drew Lock and everyone in the Broncos offense, and also Drew Lock was a detriment to Drew Lock. I mean, he held himself back. He didn't take that step forward. He wasn't good enough. Just being objective and calling it like it is, Chad. I mean, it also fell on Lock last year as well.
It did. I mean, Lock, he did not leave no doubt. I try to avoid using double negatives, but he did not leave no doubt. He created doubt, and that's why he's in the situation he's in now. Chris Hernandez with the super chat. Thank you, bro. How timely. He says, ask Fangio, and he'll tell you the problem is the players. On that note, here's the email. So for some background, guys, when Tennessee hosted Mississippi in football, a very close game, it came down to the wire. With 54 seconds left, the refs made a call that the home fans didn't like, and the fans proceeded to throw bottles and cans and golf balls at the opposing team and onto the field. It took 20 minutes to clean up the mess and let the teams finish the game. On Sunday, the incident all over the national news, but interestingly, Tennessee's coach didn't say a word about it during his hour-long review of the game TV show. Here's some notes on that. And this is like a leadership picker-upper, all right? Number one, sometimes leaders stay mum on ugly incidents because they don't want to fuel the discussion. That's giving them the benefit of the doubt or whatever. Here's the other thing, though. But the grapevine will fuel the discussion. So leaders need to steer the discussion. 2, sometimes leaders stay mum on ugly incidents because they don't want to wade into controversial waters. Here's the flip side. Controversial moments are exactly when leaders need to lead. 3, sometimes leaders stay mum on ugly incidents because they don't feel responsible for the ugliness. This is applicable to Fangio. The flip side, it doesn't matter if you're directly responsible. You still have an opportunity to reinforce what good actually looks like. Last one. 4, sometimes leaders stay mum on ugly incidents because their bosses instruct them to stay mum. Flip side, leaders need to be wary of bosses who discourage them in doing the right thing. So it's like leadership 101. Fangio needs that course, Chris. So thank you for sending that. I was edified by it, for what it's worth, and I hope our audience was as well. Now, let me pull up some. We're getting close to our time here. Marcus says, so as long as we have these coaches, we don't stand much of a chance. So as long as we have these coaches, we don't stand much of making much of a change. And love to all you Bronco fans from the UK. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, it kind of feels that way, doesn't it? That the Broncos are kind of stuck in a tailspin type situation. But let's do some head-to-head, guys, real quick. Let's take a look at what this game is, what caliber opponent the Broncos are facing on Sunday. Quick refresher as we go through these statistical comparisons. If it's a green, that means they're top 10. If it's red, they're bottom 10. Black means they're right in the middle. Let's take a first look here at turnover margin. The Broncos are now close to, bottom third with -3 in turnover differential. And Zach, that's been compounded significantly by the fact that this team hasn't been able to take the ball away, while Teddy Bridgewater, just in the last 3 games, has given it away 6 times.
I mean, 2 of the things that were supposed to be the Broncos' calling cards completely fell apart in the last 4 games or so. Vic Fangio and the defense wanted to average 2 picks a game while they're not getting anything. Teddy was supposed to be steady Teddy, never turning the ball over, not to be Drew Lock, and look at that now, -3. So everything's kind of falling apart at the seams right now in that regard.
The good news, Washington, they're -3 as well. They're right there, both tied at 22nd. Time of possession, the Broncos are still, inexplicably, this surprises me. This is how much they possess the ball, like the margin of which they possess the ball relative to their opponents the first 3 weeks. They're barely outside the top 10, whereas Washington, they're bottom third, all right? Offense, let's take a look here. Your Denver Broncos, let's see if there's any green. Look, they are top 10 in the fewest fumbles lost. They only have 3 lost fumbles. So is that the only green? Yep, that's the only green. Washington, though, has only 1 green, and that's in sacks allowed. They've only allowed 10, which ties them for 7th fewest in the league. But as far as yards per game, these are 2 teams that are basically mirroring each other. The Broncos are averaging 348. Washington's averaging 350. Points per game, the Broncos are ranked 24th, averaging a measly 20, whilst the Washington football team is averaging 0.9 points more than that per game of just under 21 points, tied for 22nd. As a rushing offense, Zach, these Denver Broncos are 18th, averaging 106.8. And that's, Zach, for what it's worth, that should encourage fans because that's with Pat Shurmur calling, 4 handoffs to Javonte in a game and 8 to Melvin Gordon. So, there's an opportunity there for the Broncos if they had coaches wise enough to recognize it. Meanwhile, Washington, Zach, they are the 13th ranked rushing offense with 119 yards per game. And then last thing, and then I want to serve this over. Passing-wise, the Broncos are the 16th passing offense, averaging 241 yards per game through the air. A lot of those, Zach, I got to remind people, though, are garbage time yards, okay? Whereas Washington, they're even worse. They're ranked 22nd.
These 2 offenses is the Spider-Man meme, just pointing at each other. It's going to be a crap show on Sunday pretty much. And I look at the net rushing yards. What are the Broncos at, Chad? 108 106.8 per game. When you have Melvin Gordon running like he is and Javonte running like he is, how are you not better than 18th? That's what I'm talking about. The coaching is just squandering what this roster could be talent-wise alone. And they have no green except for fumbles lost. And they're still 10th overall in that. It's not like they're top 5 in that department. But when you go down, Chad, the bottom 2 are still the 2 worth paying attention to. And these are the ones that are truly nauseating. The Broncos are 27th on third down and tied for 28th in the red zone. When you can't convert third downs, and I've been saying this since week 1 pretty much, and you can't convert in the red zone, you're not going to win many games. Now the Broncos are giving up sacks on top of that. It's just not a good place for Denver's offense to be. There
are only 5 teams who have given up more sacks to the quarterback than your Denver Broncos. So right now Garrett Bowles is looking like his second-team All-Pro year was a flash in the pan. Hopefully he can turn that around because, I thought there was something more lasting there. But then he gets paid, and you never know how that's going to change things. Meanwhile, though, the good news here is both these teams suck on third down and in the red zone, so there is an opportunity.
Well, it's not like the Broncos are facing a good defensive line or anything. Montez Sweat, Jonathan Allen, Chase Young, they're just a bunch of losers out there, so...
Man, I'm already getting nervous just hearing those names. Defense, the Broncos start showing a little bit of green. All right, in net yards per game, they are the 5th offense in the league, or defense in the league, averaging 323 yards given up per game. That's 5th. Yards per play, they're middle of the pack. Points per game, despite relinquishing some serious numbers in this 4-game skid, they're still top 5. They're ranked 4th in points allowed, 18.1.
I didn't realize Washington's that bad, though. 30 points a game they're giving up.
Dead last. All right, this is the worst scoring defense in the National Football League. So, Zach, if this ain't a get-right game, if this is not an opportunity for these Denver Broncos to turn the ship around, it ain't going to come.
We've said it, though. If the Broncos can't get right against Ben Roethlisberger, if they can't get right against Rich Bisaccia, if they can't get right against Case Keenum, this seems like an actually tough test for Denver, only facing a team giving up 30 points a game, a team giving up 300 yards a game. If Teddy Bridgewater can't move the ball and score points, just bench him. Look at those numbers right there. 300 yards and 30 points a game. It's Madden numbers.
Hey, you know why I'm probably going to pick the Broncos to win this game? It's a sub-500 opponent, so they're going to take care of it. That's best predictor of future behavior, past behavior. Broncos handled those opponents, then they ran into some more quality opponents, and they've lost each one of them. That might be a rule of thumb for the Mile High Roundtable henceforth, Zach, is let's look at the opponent. Are they sub-500? All right, we'll pick the Broncos. Are they 500 or above? Going against them. That's probably the best method. All right, so that kind of shows you. Last thing here I want to show is the Broncos' rushing defense is still a top 10 unit, and so is their passing defense. All right, as far as the stats say. Now, where it starts getting ugly is right here. This team cannot take the ball away to save its life. All right, tied for 18th in interceptions with 4, tied for 21st in fumble recoveries with 2. They only have 6 freaking takeaways 7 weeks into the season. Sacks, they're middle of the pack with 15. That ranks them 13th. Well, not middle of the pack. They're just outside the top 10, so I wouldn't quite say middle of the pack. But meanwhile, that's exactly where Washington is. And they've actually taken the ball away 8 times. So kudos to them. Third down, though, the Broncos, only 5 teams worse than your Denver Broncos in defending opponents on third down. But the good news is, Zach, Washington's the worst defense in the league on third down. So, again, get right opportunity. But red zone, my golly, the Broncos have fallen from grace. Under Vic Fangio, that was the one saving grace. Hey, we're losing games and we're sub 500, but hey, you know what? We've fielded the number 1 red zone defense in consecutive seasons, and they even started off this year on the same track, Zach. Now they fall into 13th.
His bend but don't break defense is breaking quite often, Chad. And again, when you have that collection of talent and that payroll, the highest paid defense in the NFL, go up for 1 second just to hammer home the point. 27th on third downs, 24th in takeaways. Again, I don't think that's a talent issue, if you get my drift.
Scheme, baby. All right, last thing, look at this. The Washington football team has some green on special teams. In fact, 3 spots: gross punting, net punting, and kickoff return average. Your Broncos only have green in one area in the third phase, and that's their punt returns. They're averaging 10.2 yards per game, pardon me, which ranks them 7th. And then last thing I want to show you guys, penalties. The Broncos in penalties committed are tied for 11th, all right, with 40 of them. Opponent and penalties committed, the Broncos have seen their opponents commit 48, which is tied for the 7th most, all right? But this is a number that has to improve if this team's really going to turn the ship around. And as you can see here, the Washington football team's not the worst as far as discipline's concerned, but they're not, they're not the best. They're right in the middle of the pack. So I think that's about all you need to know as far as the head-to-head comparisons.
It's going to be an ugly one on Sunday.
It's an opportunity. I mean, Washington has some talent at specific spots. You mentioned the edge guys, and that D-line has some, it's teaming with some menace. But if the Broncos coaches can pull their heads out of their you-know-what, you can scheme around that and capitalize on what is a very porous defense when all is said and done. And then defensively, come on, dude. You're going to worry about, what's his name? I've already forgotten his name. Heineke?
Yeah.
He's played okay this year, but go get after him. All right, Naj Altaf, what's going on, bro? Thank you again. Second super chat of the night. He says, I think Fangio's inability to be wrong stopped him from starting Locke when Teddy was clearly hurt. Teddy must have a great game, and if he doesn't think Locke must be in, let me jump over to that side. And if he doesn't think Locke must be put in as a starter, question is, hold on, Teddy must have a great game if he doesn't probably want Locke to be put in as a starter. Question is, will Fangio do what's right, is what Naj ends with there, Zach.
No. Doing what's right long-term would have been starting Locke from the get-go. Doing what's right is inserting Locke when Bridgewater can barely walk. Doing what's right is not getting up behind the podium and saying, oh, he was actually healthier than 70%. He was closer to 100 when he was limping pregame on video. I mean, the guy was broken physically. So Fangio hasn't proven to do what's right in his tenure with the Broncos, and there's no reason to think now, even with his job on the line, he's going to suddenly grow a brain.
Marcus Lewis Hanna, what's up, buddy? He says, I still have faith in Teddy if he's given proper plays from the coaches. Hey, look, I don't want you guys to misinterpret what I'm saying. I don't think Teddy's some doormat, all right? That's not what I'm saying. But he ain't it. And you need it. You need the X factor. You need that oomph. And maybe Naj ain't it either. Throw Naj out there. Maybe Drew's not it either, but you need some kind of a spark. And you won't know whether or not you can get the spark unless you rub a couple sticks together and try and see if you can get the spark. You got to actually take the action in hopes of altering the situation. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you, my brother. Appreciate you very much.
I mean, if we're playing the if game, if I found $1 million, I'd be a millionaire. But I have actually more of a chance of that happening than the Broncos feeding their quarterback, either Bridgewater or Locke, the right plays. They're just that incompetent, in my opinion.
If ifs and buts were candy and nuts, right, we all would have a Merry Christmas. The worst thing about the whole Teddy playing at 70, 75% is just how much of I almost said a naughty word, just how idiotic it makes Vic Fangio look after he castigated John Harbaugh and the Baltimore Ravens franchise for player safety or lack of regard for player safety. Embarrassing. And that's why I'm telling you, and this is why I said this, in fact, after Fangio said what he said, which was the Monday following the Week 4 loss to the Ravens, I said, this is a bad look for the team in more ways than one, and it's going to come back to haunt this team. And sure enough, as Donald says, I think he was healthier than he said he was. I care about player safety. Pocket presence like Tom Brady. The man has some hellacious quotes.
I mean, it's right there written in front of you. And these quotes will go in the pantheon that includes Joe Flacco's in his prime. I mean, the Broncos are deluding themselves at the quarterback position since 2016, and it's getting worse and worse and worse. The Tom Brady thing was especially egregious to me, though. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater in the same sentence as Brady. Wow. Couldn't believe it then, and I can't believe it now.
Guys, tomorrow we will be publishing at milehighhuddle.com the Mile High Roundtable, and we will wait to tender our official predictions and score picks for that article, but look for it tomorrow by about lunchtime. All right, that's when we like to publish it. And also, you're going to get keys to victory from Luke Patterson and a lot of pregame content, including Dove Valley Deep Divers tomorrow night, Mile High Insiders Saturday night. Broncos Book Club will return on Saturday. Looking forward to that at noon Mountain Time. And from there, guys, it'll be Sunday, Kelberman's Corner, and a return of the Huddle Up podcast for the gut reaction Sunday night. But with that, Zach, I'll pull up the final sheet for Facebook and the YouTube Super Chat while you give us our rundown.
Yes, this was the Huddle Up Pod, guys. And until we see you guys next time, be sure to follow the pod on Twitter at Huddle Up Pod. You can follow the main account at Mile High Huddle. You can follow Chad on Twitter at Chad and Jensen. You can follow myself at Kelberman NFL. If you would be so kind and check out huddleuppod.com. Get yourself a hat, get yourself a shirt, get yourself a hoodie, get yourself anything you want. It's in that store. Also, facebook.com/milehighhuddle. Hit that big blue button and become a VIP supporter for exclusive access to our VIP programming. Like Chad mentioned, Kelberman's Corner, Broncos Book Club, and Trickle Zone each and every week. Also, facebook.com/milehighhuddlepod. Follow that page. And if you haven't already, go to Apple Podcasts and leave your football priest a 5-star review for a chance to win some swag each and every month. But if you can't do any of those things, do these 3 things that take a few seconds. Subscribe, like, and share this video and every video you see on the MHH channel. Helps us grow and reach more Broncos fans just like you.
All right, guys. And yes, on Monday night, we'll also do the drawing for the Apple Podcast reviews in the month of October, and there have been a lot of them. So props to you guys. Thank you for doing that. Keep it going. We're going to continue doing that month in, month out. We went away from it for a little while, but we're going back to it. So here is the updated Super Chat rankings for the month of October. All right. Mark from Georgia at number 1. The Duchess, Michaela, at 2. Naj at 3. This doesn't count tonight, for what it's worth. The Queen at 4. Seth Harmon at 5. Chris Hernandez right outside the top 5 at 6. And remember, guys, there's still, 4 days left. Well, let's see, 9, 10, 3 days. So Sunday is the last day to factor into these rankings. D-Dub Dale at 7. BG, as we like to call him, Brian Greenfield at 8. Aaron Lynch, big A, little a, R-O-N at 9. Shane Daniels, 10. And then here's kind of a list of where everyone stands. And, guys, if you're not in the top 5, do not fear, because we're going to have giveaways for each kind of tier. We'll do raffles for each tier. So everyone that has chipped in and supported what we're doing here in the month of October is going to have a shot to win some swag. Might not be the jersey, but you'll have a chance to win some stuff here. And then, Zach, one last thing. Shout out to our Facebook stars tonight. Love you. Appreciate you. Travis, we know this now. Good things come to those who wait. And we're talking about us. Thank you so much for the support, bro. Josh Hoyle, Randy Jones, Michael Ronquillo, Claude Riley, Shane Daniels, Pete Middleton, Mike Reno, Marcus Lewis Henna, across the pond, Doug Raquel, Travis Tarbox, Mark Johnson, whose jersey we learned yesterday finally shipped. He won the Justin Simmons jersey. Joe Sawyer, Andrew Lampy, Aaron Lee, Howie Frickin' Day, and David Wilder. So love you guys. Have a great weekend. Happy Halloween. Be safe out there. Enjoy your kids if you got them. And Zach will sign us off. We'll see you Sunday.
Take care, guys. And as always, go Broncos.
You've been listening to the Huddle Up Podcast. Join Broncos Country's deep divers at milehighhuddle.com to keep the conversation going.